I got up a little bit earlier and I don't think it fucking helped. I'm still not awake. I'm still not ready. All right, we're on all. Let's get this thing started. You know, I woke up a little bit earlier this morning. I got up at 4:30. I thought maybe 15 minutes more would help me wake up, as I'm not used to getting up early. I get up, hear me out. I've said this the past 4 days now. I get up early. I wake up. I'm usually up about 4:45, but I'm not up. I'm not out of bed. I lay there. I sit and I relax and I try to, pull myself together so I can shake off the Joe Biden type mental issues I might have, the cognitive problems. And then I get up and I get about. Literally, it takes me about 2 hours to get up and not be bothered by people, right? I have to wake up. But since we've been doing the podcast in the morning the past few days, it's been a problem for me. Back in February, I started the podcast, Spazzing Out, America's podcast, your podcast. We've been doing it 5 days a week, and I've been doing it at night, doing it around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and that's given me the ability to have all day long to be awake. I work all day. I get home. I get on the Peloton. I bang out a 30-minute, 20-minute, 5, 10, 50, however long, an hour, 75-minute ride. I bang it out, and I feel great. And then I sit down, and I'm ready to go. I'm firing on all cylinders. I can speak. I can talk better than I am right now, but still not better than most people. I don't know big words and have trouble reading, covered in poison ivy, all that crap. But it's definitely better at night. But I have to get used to doing it at the morning. And I thought waking up at 4:30 would help. I guess I'm going to have to wake up at 4 so that by 5 I'm somewhat awake, so that by like 5:30 I could bang out some feet. I can't even, like, I'm stroking up feet. I can't even talk. Anyways, this is Spazzing Out, America's podcast. It is recorded 5 times a week. When I record the podcast, I do it on Facebook, I do it on Twitter, and I do it on YouTube. If you're watching on one of these, share the feed, like the page, retweet. We'll probably get bounced off of Facebook and Twitter today, but we'll talk about that. And subscribe on YouTube. Most of you are listening to the podcast, recording, and you're listening on an app. Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Pandora, your Alexa. Hey, Alexa, play Spazzing Out, America's podcast. Boom. There it is. Somewhere between 550 and 620 downloads a day per episode. So I post an episode. By this time, 24 hours later, it's been downloaded about 600 times. It's fantastic. It's growing. Back in February, it was 1. I would get 1 download, and then 2, then 3, and it caught up, but we need more. We need to spread the word about America's podcast. Once we're through the times of Corona, hopefully I can do more stuff on the streets and have a little bit more fun with the podcast. But for now, if you don't know, I'm in my basement. I've been doing the podcast for about, since February, so you do the math, dude. I can't do the math this early. Down in my basement, but my basement is a bedroom area. My son's bedroom is behind this awesome, wow, bro. This awesome poster that was made by a listener, by Brad. It says Spazzing Out. Love you, buddy. Me, looking at me. You can't beat that. That's my son's bedroom behind me. On the other side is my daughter's bedroom. My daughter's 6 years old. She's not down here sleeping because she'll go to bed and then she'll crawl her little ass upstairs because she gets scared. So, and I have a packed house. Right now we have a very packed house. My mother-in-law's here. She's upstairs. All the wonderful things that come with having a mother-in-law staying with you for a little bit are here. The good things, she helps out with the kids, helps walk the dogs, helps clean the dishes. So those things are great. And I could go on hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. We could have a whole podcast. We could start a new podcast. We could call it America's mother-in-laws. And I could take, we could have conversations with horrified men until the world ended about horror stories dealing with mother-in-laws. So we all know where that goes. Although I do love my mother-in-law. She is a great lady, but in fact, she is still a mother-in-law. My mom is never here. My mom's in a nursing home. She comes here. Liz, the alcohol of famer, is basically in lockdown in a nursing home. She'll be here for Christmas though. But Liz is fun, man. We get Liz here. We get her fucked up, man. She shouldn't be drinking, but once a year, COVID clause is coming. We're going to get her drunk. It'll be great. All right, let's get into some stuff before we get bounced out. All right. Here's what I'd like to get to today, and I don't know if I'll get to it because we never get to everything that I want to talk about. The past few days, we've been talking about the NFL, and Cam Newton is coming back. He'll practice today, but the other day I was bitching about the McCourties. But I was bitching that the McCourties were bitching about the league and about COVID. But you know who they should be upset with is Cam Newton. So I want to get to that real quick. And then after I get to that, I want to talk about Hunter Privilege Biden. I want to talk about Twitter and Facebook. If I can get to court packing, I will. I want to get to cow cuddling. And no, cow cuddling is not something you do with your fat wife. The death of the movies. And I want to know who is donating $200 million online to Joe Biden. It's not one person, it's many people, but it sure as hell isn't old people, and it's probably millennials that are feeding this guy's campaign. He gets a record-breaking $380 million last month in funds raised. Who the fuck is throwing their money out the window like that, and who has money like that? It's driving me bonkers. And then, of course, I always, even though I am I was a longtime liberal, first-time conservative. I am about as conservative now as I was a liberal in my 20s. I can't even look back at my 20s. Thank God I can look back at my 20s and say, you know what? I was just a drunk. I drank a ton. All I did was party. I had no clue what was going on with life. And had I known, thank God when I was young, though, when I was a liberal, I actually voted conservatively. I voted for George Bush twice. I did not vote for Barack Obama. I voted. Let me get that record. I think I voted for McCain and I voted for Mitt Romney. So I don't know how I became this super duper conservative, but I am extremely conservative now. All right, let's get to the NFL stuff, and then we'll get into Hunter Biden, Hunter Privilege. We're gonna call him. Let's get into Privilege Biden after we talk about the NFL really quick, because I want to sum this up. If you want to hear what I had to say about the NFL, go check out Tuesdays and Wednesdays episodes. I had a deep conversations about how athletes, especially the Woodies, shouldn't be bitching about COVID and be mad at the league because they make millions of dollars, and I don't want to hear wine babies fucking cry. But it made me think yesterday that they shouldn't be upset with the league. The league has protocols put in place, and one of their own, Cam Newton, he broke the protocol. I am convinced 100% that Cam broke protocol. We don't know how he broke protocol. He did, in fact, do it. I don't know if it was the dinner. I don't even think there was a dinner. I think the dinner is bullshit. And I think that Gilly Lock was covering up for him. You can hear all that shit. I discussed it yesterday. Here's my beef. The McCourties should be bitching at Cam. You should look right in your teammate's face and say, dude, you fucked us. You brought COVID. It's like you brought AIDS into this office. You brought COVID into this office. He brought it in. He infected the team. He was the reason you lost to KC, and then your asses got lucky because Kraft has clout and got the Denver game pushed back so that you guys could get Cam back. Great. I like Cam. I'm not shitting on Cam. I'm just saying that you guys are bitching at the wrong people. It's not the NFL's fault. One of your own decided to break protocol. One of your own put you guys at risk, and you should be pissed with him. Not coming out and saying the league did this, the league did that. Unless, of course, there is a bigger conspiracy that Belichick told you guys to do it and Kraft told you to do it so that you could push the game back, then fine, I get it. But if you're generally pissed off at the league, you need to be pissed off at Cam Newton because he is the one that broke the protocol. Period. Now, I want to get off of that. If you want to hear my thoughts on Cam, on COVID Cam, and Gilly Lock, I talked about it yesterday. Go back to the previous episode or the one before that. We covered that. Enough. I've done fucking sports talk on here for like the past 3 days. We need to get to politics because I'm missing a bunch of shit. And I have to talk about this Hunter Privilege Biden fucking bombshell that hit that was suppressed by Twitter, by Facebook, and all news outlets except for Fox and for the New York Post, which actually printed the story and made it a story. Let's just try to sum it up the best I can, and then we'll talk about why it's a problem that all this shit happened. First off, Hunter Biden, we're calling him Privilege Biden. Privilege Biden is the son of former presidential candidate Joe Biden. We all know that shit. He got a job with this company, Burisma. It's an energy company in the Ukraine, and he gets it's a fucking 100% that he got the board position because of his father. Period. He used his privilege to get the job. He makes like $8. He was making like $8. I don't know if he still has it, but they're pumping him $80,000 a year so that they could get access to his dad. And it's been back and forth whether or not his father helped him get the job or his dad's influence helped him get the job. And now it is clear. Why do we know? Because stupid privileged Biden took his laptop to get fixed by the Geek Squad. And when he got told how much it would be cost, the price to fix it, he just abandoned the fucking thing. Was like, nah, I'm not paying. I don't know why you wouldn't pay for it, bro. You got a ton of money. You're making $80,000. You were making $80,000 a year for a cupcake job. You're not even working. You're out getting fucked up. Whatever. You know what? I'm not going to rip on him. Privileged Biden for getting fucked up because everybody gets fucked up. I was drinking last night. I was having mother-in-law drinks so that I could forget about life too. No big deal. Here's the problem. He leaves the laptop, says, fuck it. I'm not paying for it. Then the guy that works, the Geek Squad guy, I don't know if it's exactly Geek Squad, but the guy who's fixing the computer starts fixing it, goes through it and says, shit, I got something here. I have pictures of the vice president's son in compromising positions. And now I've come across this email where an executive at Burisma is thanking Joe Biden's son for introducing him to the vice president, which clearly goes against everything candidate Biden and his son have been saying. Former Vice President Joe Biden has said, no, I don't talk to my son about business. I didn't help my son get this job. I didn't use my influence, which we all know is BS. And then what happens? Biden uses his influence. He uses his privilege. Hunter gets the bullshit job. So Hunter gets the $80,000, almost $1 million a year, just because his dad's vice president and his dad forces the issue so that he could save Burisma from prosecution. We've seen the audio of Joe Biden joking around, or I'm sorry, he's pumping his chest about how he was going to withhold $1 billion in funds from the Ukraine unless they fired this prosecutor that was going after the company that his son was sitting on the board and getting his mailbox money. Mailbox money is great, by the way. I'd love to get mailbox money. I mean, I don't, that's, if you guys want to talk about privilege, it doesn't get any more privilege than that when your dad is the vice president and you get the mailbox money job and you're sitting, and all you have to do is introduce your dad to the executive at Burisma and boom, you're all set. And it's clear that it happened. Rudy Giuliani. So just to take it a step further, the guy who has the laptop calls Rudy Giuliani's attorney, gets it to Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani has to pick the New York Post because no other fucking outlet would print it. He's like, shit, who do I bring this to? The Post is probably the only one that will put it out there. They are. So now the story gets put out there. We all find out that privileged Biden, when I say privileged Biden, we're talking about Hunter. When Hunter privileged Biden, his computer gets found and it gets put out there. So now that everybody knows that the Bidens were lying and that they did in fact use position, power, and privilege to help out a son get a job, violating all sorts of fucking laws in the United States. We don't use our privilege here. We don't use our power for nepotism to help out our families so that they can get kick-ass jobs and make $1 million a year, especially when I'm grinding, especially when I'm doing everything I can to keep my small business going. I got to leave after I do this podcast to go to work, but not privileged Biden. Privileged Biden gets to sit at home because his dad set him up. Bro, I don't even make $80,000 a year for my take home. But But privileged Biden does, sitting at home, and the kid's there's so many stupid things, and the kid's so fucking stupid that he can't even wipe and scrub his own computer. His dad must just be like, wow, you're a fucking retard. Honestly, could you imagine the conversation that Joe Biden has with his son, Hunter? He just goes in there, just looks at him and goes, what? I'm telling you. Because Biden's an old school guy. He's fucking 80 years old almost. So he's got he probably goes in, walks in, looks at his son with such that I can imagine Joe Biden walking in as Tywin Lannister or whoever the head Lannister was, looking at the little midget. No, maybe he's looking at Jamie, whichever one, and just with disdain. Just look at him like, I set you up, and you couldn't even you were so lazy that you couldn't even destroy your own computer. You didn't even have to destroy your own computer. You could have just made a phone call to Daddy. You could have said, hey, Dad, my computer's fucked up and it's got compromising shit on it. And Dad would have taken care of it. He would have fucking wiped it clean just like his mind's wiped clean because he's 80 years old and he can't put two sentences together. So Rudy Giuliani gets the computer. They get the information. They get the damning emails and the photos. They send it out. They put the information out to the New York Post, and the Post and Fox News are the only media outlets that put it out there. The rest of the mutant media, they don't push it out. They start pushing out stories refuting it. They start going off of hearsay with Joe Biden's campaign saying, no, there was no scheduled meeting. Yeah, no shit, there was no scheduled meeting. They wouldn't put it in the fucking log because it was a secret meeting. But now there's proof that there was a meeting between the executive of Burisma and the vice president because of the email that was found on privileged Biden's computer. Hunter's computer, privileged fucking Biden on his computer. There was an email, and it's clear facts that this happened. It is clear that the Biden family participates in privilege, nepotism, using their power and position to better their family, but not the American people. They use American dollars. They take your tax-paying dollars, 1 billion of it, right? This is I need to explain to you how fucked up this is. You pay taxes. Your tax dollars are used to run the government, and some of your money, right, goes into a pool. You get the general fund pool, and some of that general fund pool is used to give financial aid to other countries. Vice President Biden dangles $1 billion of financial aid to the Ukraine and says, I'm not going to give you this money unless you fire the prosecutor that is taking up charges against the company that my son is a board member of. And what happens? They fire the prosecutor. The case goes away. Burisma still exists. Joe Biden's son gets to collect his $80,000 a month, and they used your money to do it. They leveraged your money. They leveraged American power. They leveraged our country for personal fucking gain. This guy used America. He used it. He used you, the American people. He spoke. He's our vice president. He spoke for you and said, America wants my son to make $80,000 a year, mailbox money, to do nothing. And if that doesn't happen, you won't get their money. So this guy takes our fucking money and then he has to give it to him. So then he gives them our money. Do you understand that Joe Biden gave away $1 billion of our money to ensure his son would have a job making $80,000 a year, mailbox money, sitting on a board of a fucking energy company and on the other side of the world? Do you get that? Do you get the leverage there? Well, most of you don't make 80,000. Maybe you just barely make 80. Maybe you're making 100 grand. But you know what? You make 100 grand, and then after taxes, now you're making 60, and that little money in the in-between is the money that they use to leverage so that Joe could get his fucking son, privileged Biden, a job. And no one's pissed off about it. You guys are all cool with it. You sit back and you're like, oh yeah. The point is, Joe's for sale. The point here is that America is for sale. You can buy Joe Biden. We should just call him Buy Joe Biden. He should have his own fucking auction website. Buy, P-U-Y, Biden, buyjoebiden.com. He is for sale. He will sell you out for his son. He's not like the great Americans who love their son like a John McCain's father who would bomb, who would gives orders to bomb a place where his son is held as a POW. Not the great fathers of the past that put country before family. Not the great fathers of the past that would do anything to make sure that this country was great. Now the country is for sale. Now when you have power, you use the American people's buying power. You're using the American people's hard fucking work. It's our money. They're using our power. You raised the money. That $1 billion was your dollars, your hard-earned dollars, your fucking time, your ass, so that the vice president could influence a company to give his son a job, or vice versa. Or the company goes to Joe Biden's son and says, hey, we'll give you this job. You give us access to your dad. And he most certainly did give access to his dad. Let's be clear on this. No fucking way there wasn't collusion. No fucking way. I don't give a shit. I have a son. He is 12 years old. I know everything my son does. I talk to my son about everything. When my son gets older, I will talk to my son about everything he does, and I wouldn't lie to the fucking American people about it. And any dad, I like to bring it home. I like to bring every topic and make it home. I want you to imagine, think about you guys, dads, right now. I want you to think right this second. Dads, I want you to think about this. You're at home. You have a son. You know your son well. You know everything your son does. You talk to him about his work. You most certainly talk to your son about it's the fact that you say you don't talk to your son about your work, but I don't care. Joe should talk to his son about work. He 100% should. It's the kid's father. Joe's son should go to his dad and say, Dad, I need advice on all sorts of things, including my job. Why? Because Joe has experience. He's an older man. He's done a lot of stuff. He's dealt with a lot of corporate people. He knows what to do. So his son should be able to go to his father for that. I don't disagree with that. That's what dads are there for. That's what we're here for. And you know what? And I'll give Hunter, privileged Biden, the benefit of the doubt here. He's had a tough life. His mom's gone. His fucking brother's gone. He was in a crazy ass car accident as a kid. His dad's probably been gone most of his life because his dad's a politician, and those guys aren't exactly home all the time. So things are a little bit rough for privileged Biden. I get it. What I don't like is the BS. I would respect someone more if they were just honest with it. If they just told us, because as a dad, if I ever tell you I didn't know something about my son, I either hadn't talked to my son about it yet, right? Or I'm lying to you. Like if my son did something, I'd be like, oh, I didn't know that. And then I would go and I would know. There would be like, nah, I don't talk to my son about business, and I'm not gonna. If you came to me and let's say I am now the vice president, but I'm dad still, but I'm dad. You come to me and say, hey, you talked to Nariam about Burisma and about him sitting on the board and making 80 grand. I'd say, no. But then I'd say, but you know what? I wouldn't say, oh, we don't talk business. Like, no, but you know what? Let me get on the phone because I'm going to find out what's going on right now because I'm his dad and I'm the vice president. And I got to call my son and I got to say, hey, shut the fuck up about Burisma. You're going to fucking ruin my life. That shit happens. It just does. We can make it real small. Here, I'll make it real tiny for you. That your son breaks a window at someone's house. And then somebody comes to you and says, hey, the neighbor guy comes over and says, hey, do you know Nariam broke a fucking window? And I'd say, no, shit. And then my next thing wouldn't be, no, I don't talk to my son about breaking windows. Then I would go find Nariam and I'd be like, dude, what the fuck? Did you break that window? And he'd be like, yeah, Dad, but I'm trying to bullshit or I'm trying to get out of it. Now, I wouldn't say bullshit. I'd be like, yeah, you go talk to that guy and take care of it. But I would want to avoid the confrontation with his mom and his stepmom. I'd be like, hey, keep this shit down. You don't fucking go around telling people you broke windows. Shut up. Be quiet. But I most certainly would have talked to him about it. So don't lie to us. Just don't lie. I hate that shit. Don't lie. Just be straight up and say, yep, he's my son. I think the American people would be more understanding. We'd be pissed, but I think we'd be more understanding if you came out and said, yeah, he's my son. How could I not talk to my son about dealings with a fucking business where he's making $80,000 a year? Of course we talk about it. My son confides in me for all sorts of things, from sex to children to education to business to fucking money. I'm his dad. He talks to me about it. And then you could try to convince us that you don't let that influence your decisions. Kind of like in the way Amy Coney Barrett would say, yep, I'm super religious, but I don't let my religion affect how I judge and how I pass opinions on cases that come before me. I would buy that. I would say, you know what, Joe? That was honest. I'd say, damn, you were fucking honest. You came out and you were honest. And then on the next thing, you might say to the American people, you might say, hey, this is what I would say to the American people. I'd be like, look, you're trying to tell me I'm a dad. You're a dad. You're trying to tell me you wouldn't use your position to help your son out? Let me get this straight. Pretend now I'm Joe. And I'm talking to all the American dads. American dad. So you're telling me that if you were in a position to help your son out, you wouldn't help your son out. You're telling me that if you could get your son a job sitting on his ass making mailbox money, $80,000 a year, that you wouldn't do it. All of us would. Every single one of everyone listening right now. And if you say you wouldn't, you're full of shit. You're full of fucking crap. I would all day long. I work in the junk removal business. I work in real estate. And now I have a podcast. If I could use any of those things to help my son get a step up, I would. I'd expect my son to work for it. I'd expect him to earn his job. He'd have to be equal to the power. I wouldn't go to someone and say, hey, just give my son a fucking job. I'm not going to try to mafia my kid into a union job. No. My son would have to have the ability. He'd be worth it, but sure as shit, he'd get picked over your kid if you guys had equal ability because I am who I am. And I'd be okay with that as long as you were honest. Be honest about it. Just say it. Just say the fucking truth. We shouldn't have to find out from an email that your stupid ass, this is how dumb your son is. So many levels. Your son, let's get to the stupidity of sons and the problem with the American lazy, stupid fucking sons. You are committing a fucking crime. It literally is. It's just Joe Biden using his power to influence a business to give his son a job. It's impeachable. It just is. I listen, and you can love Joe Biden or not. I don't fucking care. We could get into if Donald Trump ever did it, the world, you'd see a mushroom cloud over the United States of America. Bottom line is, it's garbage. Period. I don't care. And the Democrats and the liberals on the side could go up and down. Shut the fuck up. If Trump did it, you'd be going nuts. If there was an email from one of Trump's kids, if Barron had an email on his computer. The only thing that's probably on Barron's computer is fucking YouPorn. Can you imagine Barron's probably beating off in the Lincoln? Could you imagine fucking? How about Barron? Could you imagine Barron's probably like in the Lincoln bedroom fucking jerking off? Like the White House maid. I don't even know if you can say maid. The White House cleaner comes in. This dude's in the fucking Lincoln bedroom. It's like, can I get some privacy? The kid's like 15. You know he's doing it. I don't even care. I'm dying. One of these. Yes, this is great. Wait. Joe Biden's son uses the vice president's privilege to make $80,000, right? He uses the vice president's privilege to get a job at Burisma in the Ukraine. And Barron, vice president, the president's son, uses his privilege to jerk off in the Lincoln bedroom. Fucking, you imagine? He probably, you know what's great is he probably in the White House and he probably pretends he's Clinton and fucking jerks off into like on like a blue dress, or maybe he pretends he's Kennedy and he's got a picture of Marilyn Monroe while he's beating one out. I'll bet you. Wait. If I know me, right? If I were the son of a president and I lived in the White House as a young kid, my goal would be to jerk off in every single room in the White House. Hands down, I would have masturbated in the Oval Office every room in the fucking West Wing, at the Lincoln bedroom, the Washington bedroom, everywhere. And then years later, I would write a book called The Masterpiece or The Masturbate Piece. And I would talk about and I would disclose all the areas where I had jerked off in the White House. Because we did. I don't, dude, he's 15. The only thing 15-year-old kids do are play video games, smell farts, and jerk off. And drink Mountain Dew. That's it. That's all they do. And that's what this kid's doing throughout the entire White House. He's using his privilege to masturbate. Imagine the email. So now imagine Barron's computer gets found. The thing's stuck. It's this is real sticky. It's stuck together. And then they find an email, or kids don't use emails, right? So they text message. So they find a text message where Barron's like texting one of his buddies, be like, dude, I got the Lincoln bedroom last night. And his boy like got to back. He's like, oh, that's great. He's want to come over? And how did she fucking do it? Anyways, I don't even know how the hell I got onto that, but it just made me fucking laugh. The point here is that Joe Biden clearly used privilege in a violation of his duties of the office and held Ukraine accountable by dangling your money, $1 billion over their head to get rid of a prosecutor. Right now, that still hasn't been proven, so that can be wishy-washy. And let's not use that as fact, because I don't want to push that down your throat as fact. What is fact is that there is an email that came off of Privileged Biden, that's Hunter Privileged Biden's computer, that clearly ties the vice president with a meeting with an executive at Burisma, which is the company that was under investigation, which is at the country where Biden held the funds over and said, hey, get rid of this prosecutor. You're not taking down the company that my son works for, because if you do, my son's not going to get his mailbox money. And the story has been squashed by all media outlets except for the Post and except for Fox News. Now we're going to take it one step further and get a little bit deeper into this problem. Twitter and Facebook yesterday did everything they could do to slow the distribution of this story. Facebook was upfront and honest about it, came out and said, we're slowing the distribution. We're slowing it down. Twitter, their CEO, apologized. He said, we're sorry, which is just crap because he knows that he did it. Twitter came out and their CEO said, hey, I'm really sorry. We weren't trying to block anybody. But the fact is that thousands of accounts, including the the press secretary, Kelly McInerney or McInerney, I don't know how to say her last name, what we'll call the hot press secretary. The hot press secretary, she got blocked out of Twitter yesterday for tweeting a link to the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's email. The American people most certainly need to know about this. Now, we have two issues here. First off, you're an asshole if you get your news from social media. You're a dick. You're an idiot. Everybody knows that the social media platforms, first off, there is no freedom of speech on Facebook, Twitter. There's no freedom of speech on social media. They're private companies. They are a private company. They can ban and do whatever they want. They are not a news organization. They are an organization of opinions that you put out there. They allow you to put your opinion and post what you want on their pages, on their walls. They're private. Now, I get that newspapers are private companies too, but hear me out. This is not a news organization. They do not pretend to be news organizations. Well, maybe they do pretend. But Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, none of these are news organizations. They are platforms for people to go and post content of stupid shit, of fake news stories, of my podcast. This isn't news. This is my opinion. These are my thoughts. And if they want to bump me off at any time, they can. The problem when they do that, it is censorship, but it's unfortunately okay for them to censor shit because they're not news. Now, if Fox News, you'd be argued that CNN and Fox News are news, but they're considered news. So the bigger problem is that other newspapers, the places of record, are not reporting the story. They're refuting the story. Instead of letting people know that there was a smoking gun email that ties Burisma to the vice president, and that there absolutely was a meeting and that they used access to the vice president to give his son a job. They're not reporting it. They're hiding it. They're burying it because they don't want the American people to know. That is egregious to me. Facebook and Twitter, you guys are assholes for blocking this shit because most of people consume their news off of Facebook and Twitter, which is stupid. So I implore, I'm talking, the people I'm talking to right now probably don't get their news and their information from Twitter and from Facebook. Or if they do, they take it a step further to check to see if it's real. They'll click through the link and say, oh, yes, this is from the Washington Post, or, oh, yes, this is from the New York Times, or the Boston Herald, or the Boston Globe, or the Drudge Report. Somewhere, they'll try to find out whether or not this is real or fake news. Some people don't. And you shouldn't be getting your news from clearly biased situations. Facebook and Twitter are clearly biased. They do not like Donald Trump. They do not like conservatives. Why? Because you can't buy the president. And as a matter of fact, the president came out yesterday and said, hey, you know what? The government gives social media protection. We give you protection to not be held liable. Hear me out. They're not social media. It cannot be held liable for the content that you publish. The reason that the government did that many years ago was so that social media they didn't want social media to censor certain information, whether it be liberal or whether it be conservative. So they gave them a break and said, hey, look, we don't want you to worry about the content that people post on your platform. We'll go after the person. So if the person posts something that is illegal, we'll go after the person, or indecent, we'll go after the person, not after the company, because we don't want you to censor people. We want you to let people get their opinions out there without you deciding what opinions get heard and what opinions don't. So we're going to give you the ability to not be sued for the content that your users put that is damning to Joe Biden, to Barack Obama, to the Clintons. We will hold back any information that is damning to our agenda. And our agenda is to make sure that Joe Biden gets elected. So we will hold back any damning stories or suck back the distribution of it. And then President Trump says, you know what? We gave you protection so that you wouldn't do that shit. So you would let the American people say what they want to say and make decisions on their own. But now, if you don't do that, we're going to take that away. So the president yesterday threatened and said, hey, I'm going to make it legal to sue you because now you're picking and choosing what type of content you're going to put on there. So if you want to fucking do that, then fine. Then you're going to be, then that means, because hear me out, what social media said is they could not police. Social media said there's no way they could police all of social media to make sure there was no indecent content, to make sure that there was no murders, any type of fucked up shit that could get on their platform. It would be impossible for them to find it all. So therefore, they can't get in trouble for it, but they'll do their best, right? And the government says, all right, great, we'll give you protection as long as you are not going to censor people's opinions. That it's shit that's not indecent, right? So if it's not indecent, great, they can post what they want. Their opinions are their opinions. But now they're doing it, and President Trump says, hey, fuck it. You guys have the ability to censor stuff that's damning to conservatives or I'm sorry, damaging to liberals and things that don't go with your agenda. So you must have the ability to police your own platforms. Well, now you can police your own platform and you're going to get your ass sued if anything indecent pops up on it. Good luck. That's what the president said he would do. And then immediately Twitter was like, we're sorry. But that's why they want him out. They want Trump out. Everybody, the real people that decide want Trump out because he is not for sale. Buy Joe Biden is for sale. You can buy him. You can buy your privilege. He'll play ball with China. He'll play ball with Russia. He'll play ball with other countries, make deals, make trades, make things that are good for their country at a price to our country. President Trump is like, fuck you, I will not. Our president, you might not like him. You might think he's a dick. He might think out loud. But at the end of the day, he is like, America first, please. We eat first. A lion is fucking hungry and a lion eats. The lion doesn't come up to the table and say, let me give you a little bit of my food. Fuck you. That's what the president says. And that is a huge problem. president, in my opinion, is not doing a good enough job explaining calmly to the American people what's at stake. And what is at stake here is that you're about to vote in a president that can clearly be bought. You come at Trump and you say, oh, the president can be Trump. The president can be bought because he has debt. I haven't seen a single instance where the president of the United States has been bought. If anything, President Trump has gone out and made better trade deals. The president has gone out and told other countries that if you want military support, you got to give us something. The president is basically taking the ball. We'll make it. I love making it about at home. The president is taking the ball from all the other countries and said, if you want the fucking ball, you have to do something for us. We're done just giving to you. Here's money. Here's our protection. Here's our jobs. Here's our goods and services for nothing. He's not doing that shit anymore. He has taken the ball away from the other countries and said no. And the other countries are pissed. And that's why they want Joe. And that's why everybody wants Joe. And politicians want Joe because Joe will cut the pie up. And the last person to get some of that piece of the pie will be the American people. Joe will say, oh, here's a piece of pie, China. Hey, Ukraine, here's a piece of pie. All of Europe, I know Ukraine's in Europe. All Europe, here you go. Here you go, Russia. Here you go, Africa. Cutting up our pie, taking our hard-earned money that we work our asses off for and giving it to other countries and us getting shitty deals back. Nothing great coming back to us. Nothing big coming back to us. But tons of big shit going to his family. His son getting millions of dollars. His son making 80,000 mailbox money. Big bucks, but not us. President fights for us. That's really what's at stake. And maybe you don't like his demeanor, or maybe the president needs to do that. He needs to come out and say, "Hey, I know you don't like me, and I know I'm harsh and I'm aggressive, but at the end of the day, I didn't sell this country out so my son could get a job, and I wouldn't, and I wouldn't do it to you." And that's what happens here. Your vice president is for sale. He clearly used your money, $1 billion, to help his son keep a job, and his son got a job to give access to me, and I used my influence and power to make sure that this company didn't get prosecuted, and then they gave my son $1 million. Clear collusion. Clear. All right, we ran out of time. I spent so much damn time on that. I guess we'll have to get to the other shit tomorrow. All right, I got to go to work, bro. Plain and simple. Please, Twitter, Facebook, I love both platforms. Don't get your news from these platforms. You might find a news story there. Click the link, take it to the next level, and figure out whether or not it's from a credible source. Figure that out. And then read into shit. Don't just read headlines. Get deeper. The decisions that you guys make going forward are huge. Think, just think. Just fucking think. All right. Thank you for listening to America's Podcast. I got to go do some demo. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.